we'll progress through our panel. So, panelists. First one's still standing, so that's convenient. Christina Bauer is with DNR, and she will tell you all about SISMUS. Andrea Neals is the as pre-mentioned, lamprey queen. Brandon Shorter, who you've met in the back. Greg Potter from Michigan Trout Unlimited, one of our sponsors. Kevin put on literally a different vest, and it's not a hat, a vest. To represent NATO. And then we have Rick Bruce and Steve Overs from Bruce Pets. And then I'm sure Jonathan and Christine, when they're done running around, will chime in about DNR Visitor Centers as well. So lots of awesome panelists. So ready to go. I'll get out of the way.
Hi. So I'm here to talk to you about the collaborative groups that we have in Michigan called SISMUS. So I'm curious, how many of you have heard that term or have worked with one in the past?
Wow. One?
All right.
Well, yeah.
Maybe three. So it's what we call a cooperative invasive species management area. And these are local partnerships that work together to combat the challenges that are usually present when dealing with invasive species. So the partnership can consist of federal, state, and local government, nonprofits, whatever. It's basically any organization can join a state if they wanted to. And so the reason why they exist is because invasive species do not recognize arbitrary jurisdictional boundaries, right? So Japanese knotweed is not going to stop invading 10 feet from a county line. So it doesn't make any sense to manage invasive species based on these really small geographies. You're going to get more bang for your buck if you work together and you form these collaborative partnerships. So in Michigan, we currently have 19 SISMUS. Every single county is covered by a SISMA, and this is a pretty big deal. The state and the DNR have spent a good chunk of time and resources in the last few years to get county or statewide coverage. So you all have a handout showing what the map looks like. And then on the back of that map is the contact information for all of the SISMA coordinators throughout the state. So if you're interested in partnering with the SISMA after today, you'll know who to contact in your local area. So what do SISMAs do? At the baseline, they focus on common threats, common invasive species threats to a specific area. They do surveys and monitoring to determine where invasive species are present. They undertake control and management actions to stop the spread and respond early when something new is found. And then they do a ton of education and outreach. And this runs the gamut, right? They do press releases, they go on the radio, they do TV things, they run workshops so that local landowners are aware of how to treat their own property. And then they work with schools and educators as well. So every SISMA is, they're not a legal entity, right? They're not by themselves a 501c3 or anything like that. But they do tend to have this overall structure that's pretty similar across the board. They'll always have a coordinator, and that's who you will contact if you're interested in working with SISMA. They'll have a steering committee, which is comprised usually of 5 to 10 people who determine what the SISMA does and how they do it. And then there are some formal documents that are in place that kind of guide how the SISMA functions. And then they, like I said, they do a ton of education and outreach, and these SISMAs are major supporters of a lot of national campaigns. So hopefully you all have heard of these campaigns. If you haven't participated in them already, Please Clean Go, Clean Boats, Clean Water, Stop Aquatic Hitchhikers, Don't Fire With, and then Clean Drink. Have you all heard of at least one? Hopefully. So preparing my talk this morning, I was like, well, what do teachers want to know about SISMAs? Like, how can I draw this connection, right? How can a SISMA help you, and vice versa? And so I would encourage you to reach out, especially when you're releasing the salmon in the spring. Have the SISMA coordinator come and do a short segment on invasive species and the impact on the ecosystem when you're out in the field. If you want to do other field trips, if you already have a field trip planned and you'd like a portion of that to be focused on invasives, they can come out there and provide that education for you. If you want to get your kids dirty and do some of the heavy work, right? You can plan a field trip day where they're actually out there controlling invasives. So garlic mustard is a really prevalent invasive plant species that we have here in Michigan. And it is controlled partially through just pulling it out of the ground. And so there are garlic mustard pulls. Kids are really good at pulling weeds, right? And so you can turn it into a competition to see who can pull the most and things like that. These SISMAs can assist with those kinds of activities. And then finally, decontamination. SISMA coordinators would be able to come and talk to your kids about the best ways that they can have in preventing the spread of invasive species. And before this talk, I was told by Tracy that you all have a page in your packet about decontamination and policies and practices and things like that. So if you ever want guidance on just simple steps that people can take to limit the spread of invasive, contact your coordinator. So I would encourage you to definitely use these groups as a resource. They have money, they have activities already available. They just need the kids and they need to know who's interested. So contact them early. Earlier is always better than later, right? And try to think of what kind of an activity you might be interested in. Do you want them to just come to your class and talk for an hour about invasives? Because they can do that. You want them to organize something where the kids are outside, they can do that too. So they're willing to work with you. And then I would have been remiss to not include some of these other online resources if I'm got your ear, which I do, right? So within the Midwest Invasive Species Information Network is an awesome resource for anybody looking for information about invasive species. Our state of Michigan website is michigan.gov/invasives, and I would encourage everybody to sign up for emails. We release press releases maybe twice a month. Yeah, is that delivered? Once a month?
That's each one, so yeah, keep going.
Okay. Are you still being present?
No.
Oh, okay. So if you go to our website, you click on the red envelope that's on the main page. You can sign up for any DNR listserv that you want. So if you're interested in hunting, if you're interested in forests, there's any number of articles and information that you can get. So I encourage everybody to sign up for email.
Except I think we did away from that.
It was still there the last time I looked.
A new website, now you just scroll down to the bottom corner and type in.
Well, so the michigan.gov/invasives is still an old website. Whoa, try to correct me. And then if you want to learn more about SISMAs in general, the SISMAs are kind of an umbrella under, or the person's under the umbrella, that's called the Michigan Invasive Species Coalition. And that website is michiganinvasives.org. And so if you're looking for additional information on SISMAs, that's a great place to go. That's my contact information. So if you have any questions after this that you want to throw my way, I'm happy to answer. And that's it. Short and sweet.
If you have any questions.
I answered all of them, right? Yeah, awesome. All right, I'm done.
Next up.
Hello, everybody. I am Andrea Mills. I work for both the Great Lakes Fishery Commission, which is the shirt I'm wearing today, and also the U.S. Geological Survey but not right now because of the government shutdown. So commission part of my position still allows me to work. The USGS side does not. So I'm here to answer all your Great Lakes Fisheries Commission related questions. And also to introduce you and your students and to further educate you about sea lamprey. You guys all heard of sea lamprey before, right? So I am part of the team with the Great Lakes Fisheries Commission and Michigan Department of Natural Resources. Kevin and Tracy and I, along with my supervisor, Ted Lawrence from the Great Lakes Fisheries Commission, are coordinating the Sea Lamprey in Michigan Education or SLIME program. You've all heard of this, right? Hopefully you have. Okay. So main reason that I am here is to encourage you all to participate and to apply for the program. Now, one quick note, our deadline for applications for the 2019, the spring slime program has already passed. That was December 31st. So if you haven't applied to the program yet, we're now talking about the 2020 program. So a few things. First off, who are my slime teachers? Who participated in the program?
Well, I signed up for this upcoming.
Okay, cool. What's your name?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, cool. Hi. Yeah, nice to meet you. This is really fun to actually meet people in person that I've been emailing with. Okay, who else? Yeah. Tell me your names. Yeah.
Bill,
Oh, yeah, okay.
Ted Knowles,
Okay, yeah.
John Bird.
Oh, awesome. Any others? Yeah. Oh, perfect. Hi, cool. Well, this is really exciting because, yes, these are all folks I've been communicating with, but never met in person.
They're all a little slimy.
They're all a little slimy. So yes, all right, so if you're interested in the slime program, a couple of different things. First, I have a table set up by the main entrance. It's the one with the empty tank. Tomorrow, there will be live sea lamprey in that tank. I'm not going to get them out just yet. And some of you are also dissecting sea lamprey tonight with me. That'll be super fun. I have suggestions to do that too. So that'll happen tonight. But on that table, a bunch of different things for you to think about grabbing. First off, the Not So Sexy Slime Program application is the driest looking sheet on the table with lots of text. The form is on the back to fill out. This can be filled in by hand and given to me or emailed to me. But again, this is for the 2020 program at this point. For those of you that have not applied, and for those that have applied for this year's program, there are some other materials to check out and to grab from this table. And this is all of our sea lamprey swag. There's a bunch of stuff sitting on the table that you can grab, and then there are other boxes just to the right of my table. I think I'm taking some space under your table, if you don't mind this. Here, okay, I have some boxes of materials underneath the kind of unlimited table next to mine. You can dig into those boxes and grab whatever you want. There are sea lamprey mouth temporary tattoos. You can take these, give them to your students. I have thousands. So look for a box labeled tattoos. There are DVDs called Predator in Paradise, which this is the predator, the paradise is our Great Lakes. So all about the history of sea lamprey invasion in the Great Lakes, their devastating effects on fisheries, and how we now control sea lamprey. And that control program is coordinated by the Great Lakes Fisheries Commission. So these are at the table in boxes. Sea lamprey brochure, good for adults, decent for high school age students. If any of you have younger kids, we have or your own children, honestly, you can grab these too. My son is 4 and he loves this. We have sea lamprey activity books. They're also kind of fun for adults to fill out too. So feel free to grab activity books as well. I have lots of copies, so grab enough for you and your students. Okay, so that's the material on the table. Let me tell you about the program. So what the slime program is it is a collaborative program or an associated program with the Salmon in Classroom program. The idea here is that you have salmon in your tank for 80% of the school year, 90% of the school year, but you have a couple of weeks or maybe even a month at the very end of the school year where you have an empty tank that's already set up with a chiller and everything you would need to hold a cold water fish like sea lamprey. So how this program works is that after you have released your salmon, you can get 2 live sea lamprey to keep in that tank that you already have for the last 2 or 3 weeks of the school year. Usually it's until the sea lamprey has expired. You would be getting the adult stage sea lamprey, which no longer feeds. They are incapable of feeding on fish at that point, so you wouldn't have to really do anything to maintain the sea lamprey other than keep them full. And that's pretty much it. So the idea here is that you make use of the equipment you already have for the salmon program and educate about, honestly, the most notorious or one of the most notorious invasive species in the Great Lakes. I could spend hours, and I love doing that, talking about sea lamprey. And I'll just give you a quick overview because I bet most of you already know about sea lamprey. These are one of the oldest and the most devastating invasive species in the Great Lakes. They are a parasitic fish that feeds on other, typically large-bodied fish in the Great Lakes. Primarily that's lake trout, but salmon are an important prey, as are whitefish and burbot and walleye, even sturgeon. All of these fish, even up to the mighty-sized sturgeon, can be killed by sea lamprey attaching to these fish and feeding off of the blood. Sea lamprey are an invasive species. They came from the Atlantic Ocean. Their prey in the Atlantic Ocean are things like sharks or mahi-mahi or swordfish, much larger fish that the sea lamprey in the ocean don't typically kill. But compare the size of even our largest lake trout to a swordfish, that lake trout's still pretty small. That's why sea lamprey are so devastating as an invasive species in the Great Lakes. Each sea lamprey can kill about 40 pounds of fish during its lifetime. Without control of sea lamprey, we would not have salmon surviving in the Great Lakes, and we would not have lake trout or walleye or whitefish or burbot or sturgeon. Their effects were just that devastating. But happily, the control program was developed by the Great Lakes Fisheries Commission, and we're now able to reduce their population by 90% every year. One of the best control programs anywhere in the world for an invasive species. It actually all started about an hour and a half north of here at the field station, Hammond Bay Biological Station, where I work. It's between Rogers City and Sheboygan on Lake Huron. Really great place-based education story, since all of that control that protects the $7 billion fishery in the Great Lakes all began an hour and a half away from here in Michigan. Any questions? I think that's what I mostly wanted to say. Yeah.
What are the natural predators for them?
In the Great Lakes or in the ocean? There's actually in both places, there's very few natural predators. The stage that's most vulnerable is their larval stage, which lives in streams for the first 6 to 7 years of their lives. But at that point, even then, they're burrowed in the bottom of streams. They're very sneaky. They're very good at hiding from predators. They're camouflaged, so they blend into the environment that they're living in, and they're also only active at night. So very, even in their most vulnerable stage, when they're like a French fry tucked in the bottom of the stream, there's very little predation on them. And when they're parasitizing a fish, a possible predator would have to be able to consume both the lamprey and the fish that the lamprey is attached to. And that's not very common. Any other questions? Yeah.
Did I mishear? Did you say that adults don't feed? Or I bet there's just a layer, I think, is it only juveniles that?
Yes. Yeah, right. So, yep. So, quick life history. So, when I say adult, that is the spawning phase. So, a sea lamprey becomes an adult, and that adult stage only lasts for about 2 months of its life, typically. So, the adults are the lamprey that have given up feeding off of fish, and then they move into streams to spawn. So, quick life cycle. Sea lamprey spawn in streams, females release the eggs, they fertilize, and then the larvae that hatch out live in those streams for about 5 to 7 years. Once they have reached the stage about 5 to 6 inches long, the larvae go through a metamorphosis to become a parasite. Then they leave those streams and they head out into a lake, in the Great Lakes or the ocean, where they're native. And then they feed on fish for a year to a year and a half. And once they've grown to their full adult size at the end of that year to a year and a half, then they return to streams to spawn. And as soon as they transition to their spawning phase, they will no longer feed on fish, and their digestive systems are actually breaking down. They're using a little bit of energy by digesting essentially their own digestive system to have more energy to put into reproduction. They're a fascinating creature, and you can all plan like 3 solid weeks of education about the sea lamprey. Yeah, 2 more questions.
What do they feed on in the larval stage?
Oh, just microscopic organisms, zooplankton, phytoplankton, bacteria. They're pretty harmless to larvae. Super ancient. Lamprey as a lineage are over 360 million years old. They're one of the oldest living vertebrate organisms. The only older one currently still alive would be hagfish. So they are just a highly primitive fish. So they have a backbone of sorts. They have a notochord, which would be they're just a very ancient fish, that's split off, the way the tree works. The jawless fishes, what the sea lamprey, split off from what became jawed fishes and all the other fishes we know today.
So if you put this lamprey in your tank, that last month or so of school, is it going to spawn inside your tank?
It will not, you will get any males.
And when you're ready to get rid of it, what do you do? Flush it down the toilet?
No, although I bet you've seen Blood Lake. There is a horrifying scene with the lamprey in the toilet, but that's unrelated. Right, so if your lamprey is still alive at the end of, your participation in the swine program, you euthanize it. And we have a small handful of humane ways to, off the lamprey. Even though they are a living, they're parasites and an invasive species, we still humanely treat them all under our care. I'll do one question, then we should probably move over to the next person. Did I see a hand over here?
My question was just, what are we gonna do with them at the end of the school?
And so, right, and one, I forgot to say this, once you have euthanized them, then you can dissect them if you like with your students. So that's another fun application of the slime program. And I also have a sea lamprey dissection guide that I can provide. So I will be, I'm the primary point of contact for the slime program. A quick note on eligibility for the program, it's only open to the salmon and the classroom teachers. The other fishes in the classroom teachers, like the sturgeon teachers, are not eligible. And all salmon in the classroom teachers have to have at least 1 year of experience with salmon. You don't want you tackling salmon and sea lamprey in the same year. So you have to have at least 1 year of experience, and you need to be in good standing within the salmon program as well. Otherwise, my business card is over on that table I mentioned earlier, along with all the other sea lamprey materials, and you can feel free to grab those. Thank you. All over your face.
Yeah, we'll just pop that line.
Cool, well, good afternoon, and I appreciate you guys letting me hang out for the day. My name is Brandon Schroeder. I work with the Michigan Sea Grant College Program. In a few short minutes, I hope I shared a care package, but I hope to share a little bit about who we are, a flavor of fishery science and education resources that may be of value to you. And I hope that you'll be thinking of Michigan Sea Grant as a partner and potential resource for your family and classroom program. So in terms of who we are, Michigan Sea Grant, our mission is really focused on Great Lakes science and sustainability. Our whole role in the state across the Great Lakes and the ocean states is to think about how to promote ocean and Great Lakes science in a way that helps communities use science to protect the resources that are extremely valuable to us, right? We protect water because we treat water. We protect our fish because they're food and fun to catch, and they're part of our functioning ecosystem. So our role is to think about how do we help communities and people who use the Great Lakes take care of them because we're valuable. We are a NOAA program, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, but those funds are administered in coastal communities, oceans, and the Great Lakes through universities. So our program is administered in Michigan through the University of Michigan and Michigan State University, which, much like Andrea, allows me to be here today because we know it's not working. But we support science, outreach, and education on a variety of Great Lakes topics with water. I'm a fisheries biologist, coastal community development, coastal tourism, a variety of issues that are important and relevant to our communities. And a big part of our work in coastal communities has been supporting the classroom projects. And I've heard some of my colleagues, Megan and Dave, kind of talked about being partners in some of your projects where you're coming from. We definitely provide a variety of science and education resources in these programs. We've helped on release days. We've helped connect the Salmon Classroom Project to stewardship projects in the community, and other stewardship projects in the community. The big role I think we've played, at least in Northeast Michigan, is helping our teachers find community partners that can add value or add money to their projects. So most of what we do can be found on our website. I wanted to share our website as a starting point, go-to place for our resources. We do have a variety of educational resources, from publications, posters, from fish to watersheds. Our Life in the Lakes publication, which I'll pass around when we're done here. I left it back somewhere, is just in the reprint process that'll be out within a month. A variety of great educational resources that might add value to the program. We have a YouTube channel. Dale Keith has done a lot of salmon related videos that are really the same in the classroom projects in the back of his mind. So a lot of videos that may add value. We do a lot of work with the coastal fisheries community, commercial fishermen, charter boat captains, recreational anglers, and we host these annual fisheries workshops around the state, from Lake Superior to Southeast Michigan to Lake Michigan, Lake Huron. A lot of the science and things that Randy shared this morning are things that are brought to those community conversations. We often invite teachers to come and listen and learn from the researchers and scientists. It's geared to charter boat captains, but a lot of valuable science information that we may have an interest in. So a lot of stuff accessible through our website, but I wanted to talk about a few specific initiatives or projects that I want you to know about. One is our regional Great Lakes Center for Great Lakes Literacy, which is really designed to help scientists better connect with educators and educators better gather resources and information from science. The fundamental underpinning of that work is these Great Lakes literacy principles, which are in your folder. And that's these basic things we think every citizen should know, like life on Earth is dependent on water, life on land is dependent on fresh water. The social, ecological, economic benefits that Randy was talking about, we should recognize those values in our Great Lakes. Science, there's a lot of things we don't know about our Great Lakes. So some really core principles that we would like your students to know, and that brochure is in there. And we have a lot of lessons and resources, but we also host workshops on shore, a lot of shoreside connect with science workshops that are available throughout the year. The fun one is putting 15 teachers each year on a Great Lake on East Lake Arena, which is the largest research festival on the Great Lakes, and putting the out on a Great Lake for a week, working alongside a research scientist, learning about our Great Lakes firsthand as a guest researcher, and bringing that experience back to the classroom. A lot of the ecosystem things Randy was talking about are things we explored on this vessel when we did this trip on Lake Huron. If you're not willing to get on a boat, we have a lot of online resources like the Teaching the Great Lakes lessons, a lot of science data, take a lot of science data and whittle it down so that teachers and students can explore it, but it's real world data. We want them to answer real world questions. It's a great way to engage students in data explorations related to Great Lakes topics. Activities. I throw this up here quickly. This is a required lesson set project Fisheries Learning on the Web. These lessons are here on this site if you can find them. I will give an archived antique version of this to Tracy that will be on your drive so you guys can get the old version. A lot of you have always asked me, where is that? I use that, I don't have it. We'll make sure you get the antique version of it. The standards don't align, but it's still valuable. A second project is the Great Lakes Stewardship Initiative, which is a place-based education partnership. A lot of partners in the state. I've been working with my school in North Michigan. We essentially have students through their learning and environmental stewardship projects are going to make a difference in their future. We'll stand in your classroom, work the value of the community, or learn some projects that the environmental stewardship projects. And there is what is place-based education. There's some principles and guiding practices that this partnership has developed over time from this work that we've been doing, guided by a whole bunch of national scholars and real resources to be read. Those resources, a cheat sheet of those resources I put in here. And then of that place-based education work, we partnered with the NOAA Wet Project, and a lot of our teachers in Northeast Michigan are doing watershed explorations, and that can be expanded in the classroom work. And I just quickly mention it because this is a funding resource that NOAA invests in the Great Lakes states. It's a watershed education program, but it's very easy to connect issues work. And I wanted to point out that there's a variety of EWET investments in every corner of the region. So depending on where you're in the state, there may be some EWET projects ongoing with partners that you might want. And then the last one I'm going to share is the Great Lakes Fisheries Heritage Trail. This, for me, as a fisheries scientist, was the most exciting partnership I've been involved in a long time. This is a partnership of maritime heritage museums, people that are excited about history, and thinking about how do we, in history, get people excited about our Great Lakes. So what this is a website that was developed through a partnership of fisheries folks and a lot of maritime heritage history organizations. They're basically just asking, how do we get people connected with their fisheries? It's almost a social study opportunity. We're getting people engaged in their fisheries by looking into the past and thinking about how that past is affected our today and our future. Invasive species are just as much an issue today as they were yesterday with sea level rise involved. So I think what come out of the website project, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on with this partnership, is they started pinning places in the map where you could physically go and engage in some sort of history experience. Like the port, you can work in the waterfront, you started both the commercial fishing activity. It might be a research station that you can visit to learn about conjoint research. It might be a place where you can buy or eat fish. Lots of places you can go to experience our fishery. And then on this website, I point out that there's some neat, nerd one corner with a lot of resources and reading. I was chuckling because there was a lot of books that were mentioned today. And a lot of those books are archived here in terms of where to find them and where to buy them. So a resource and an opportunity, and I think the part of the thought I have is that we'll be working with high school students under the trail stories portion of this website to collect oral histories from their local fishermen, their families who might be fishermen, the fishing tournament organizers. We're collecting oral histories and doing some narratives about how fisheries have affected their community. Those stories could be captured on this website. And if you're interested in tying the social studies, ELA components to your fisheries, and what are the connections to fisheries and community, that's connection. So that's all I have. I think the last piece is just think of us as a resource, right? So we have people that serve every coastal county in the Great Lakes. This is in your folder. Contacts of people in the community I mentioned the website. So either online or in person, we'd love to support. That's it.
Anybody have any questions for him? It's like information overload for you.
It's all in the package.
And I think Greg is low tech. Because I think everybody else is low tech. Get this out of the way. Next up is Greg Potter from Michigan Trout Unlimited.
He did not bring a PowerPoint.
That's okay.
But he did bring it back. There we go. That ran forward. And that for a couple of reasons. I'm with Trout Unlimited. I'm with Kalamazoo Valley chapter of Trout Unlimited. I'm with Michigan Trout Unlimited, and I'm with Trout Unlimited. Trout Unlimited started in the state of Michigan, not very far from here, in 1959, so about 60 years ago. 16. The first thing I'm supposed to tell you when I come in from Trout Unlimited is that we're not a fishing club. Does anybody believe that? We are a fishing club. The 16 fishermen in 1959 looked at the way the state of Michigan was handling our fisheries and waters. And they said basically what we were doing, we were heavily dependent on hatcheries. They would basically fill the streams. Early in the week, the fishermen would come up on weekends, they would go fishing, then they would go back and refill those streams again. These 16 gentlemen whose names, if you were to go by them, you would know. They would, but they may not be important in today's world. They got together and said, okay, we need to take care of our streams. If we take care of the fish, the fishing will take care of itself. Okay, so we were one of the first groups that started with a watershed or landscape approach to stream management. Okay. And that's what we're still doing. The way we're not actually against hatcheries or certain systems in Michigan that will not self-sustain, but we do not put hatchery fish on top. We advocate to not put hatchery fish on top, so I think natural production. I don't know how much you guys know about the state of Michigan and our cold water fisheries. We really, the only real salmon that we had in Lower Michigan was Railing and Fort Worth. Those are gone, or they're all gone. And now those are then replaced with brown trout. So what we do
is we do a lot of the same things that you do. We try to educate. Our problem is that we're not just educating children, but we need to educate the adults. We missed a generation. We do have some programs. Well, first I'll give you our mission. Our mission is to conserve, protect, restore North America's cold water fisheries and watersheds. Okay. Now that's our mission. What we did is we had this conserve, protect, and restore for, this has always been our mantra. Okay, we added one to that. What we added was reconnect. Because in the state of Michigan, we have a lot of dams. And so that's what we're working very hard at removing them. So if you want to make a lot of friends, go into a community and tell them, hey, you want to take your dam out. Because they're always willing to do that. Because they all have this beautiful lakefront property. And the dam has been there forever. So that's, but that is the one thing that we have added to it. The programs that we have, the Salmon in the Classroom, we have 20 chapters in the state of Michigan, 8,000 members. The Salmon in the Classroom, when it originated, was pretty stark. I mean, basically, we had added some grazing to release size and then we release fish. And then now the programs that you're presenting today, as opposed to the ones that you presented early in this program, are just so much better. But if you need help with presenting any of that, if you need, and then what we try to do is, if we have salmon in the classroom, we hope that you're bringing in stream tables, showing people how streams work. If you are bringing in, one of our favorites is bringing in a handful of debris and a bunch of aquatic insects. If that way you connect with that group, it's really simple. And those 8,000 members and those 20 chapters, I hope all of you are working with those because they're looking for you. They're looking for your kids. They're looking for people your ages because you're the generation that we missed. And the kids of the next generation, sooner or later, we've got to catch up. How many people bought a fishing license last year? Oh, thank goodness. I have to tell you how many lake associations I go to, or when we're working on stream work, and we'll say, how many people bought a fishing license? Nobody raises their hand. That's the only way conservation is funded in the state of Michigan. And so, please encourage your kids to do that. The three programs I really want to talk about is, again, Salmon in the Classroom. We've got money. The grants are available. We have 8,000 members. These guys are volunteers. They give their money, they give their time. They're not going to come knocking on your door and say, hey, let me give you some gold. Okay, if you can use them, if you need some resources, contact the local chapter. Go to michigantu.org, or you can grab one of the cards that are out on the front and get a hold of me, and I'll find somebody to come. If you're doing a children's water festival, if you need some help with releases, if you want to do fly fishing programs, we can do any of that stuff. We have a river stewards program. This is a program that I really like. We use it with our local schools. We adopt streams, especially at the high school level. We'll do macroinvertebrate sampling. We do that twice a year. That's then given to, we'll make sure that the numbers we're giving are correct. But that goes to the state of Michigan. We use it and they use it to check the health of streams. And we'll also, guys, our future projects. Your kids can do that. It's a ball. It takes half a day maybe. But when we do them, we'll do the macroinvertebrate sampling, and then we'll do stream flows, and then we'll also do chemical tests. And we'll put all that together. We can also do habitat assessments, and we can do fish shockings. So it's a pretty flexible program. The information for it's out on the desk. Okay, it's pretty much fully funded. So it's a program you can do once a year, twice a year, which we'll do it every year. One high school that I work with really closely is an athlete science center. They'll take them out, and then from that initial sampling, then those kids will then build the research projects for that year. And so they may do that. But it's a program that really grows. Another one that we're really excited about is from the guys with the Shrimps chapter, and through our Calm Waters, what's it called? The, national.
Yeah, HRI, Home Rivers Initiative.
Oh, where was initiative, but we've got two people working with them, and they're working in collaboration with, Girl Scouts. They came up with a Stream Girls, okay, which teaches girls, and you can use it, it doesn't have to just be girls. But it teaches the STEM, curriculum, but we added to it, the R is for recreation, the R is for recreational fishing. And then the A is for art. And so what they'll do is they'll introduce the subject matter, they'll teach the subject, and then they'll reflect on it, they'll do some sort of art project, writing, drawing, whatever it is. And then, the conclusion with that. But it really seems to set that, the lessons learned, because now we're putting this to use. And then, the last one is, Michigan Youth Trout Camp. I was a director for that for about 20 years. I'm not this year. It's done right here. It's 4 days. You could probably say it's 5 days, and we have to be licensed by the state. But we miss it by about 15 minutes. So but we have it's basically everything we do with Trout Unlimited. We do the samplings that we were talking about. We teach kids to find flies. We do water temperature. We do water oxygen. We build stream projects. We'll do the kids will go fishing every night on the Sable someplace. We have a lot of people coming from DQ, DNR, the local some of the colleges, and we have the guys come in and get fishing stuff.
What age kids is that for?
I'm sorry?
What age kids is that for?
That one's for 14 to 16-year-olds. It's 20. We're supposed to take 20 kids. That's what we're budgeted for. If I get 25, so don't hesitate. Very few of those kids ever pay their own way. There's almost always a chapter willing and begging to pay for those kids to come to this program. The same thing with your local chapter. If you have something, if you need waiters, if you want, nets, the skin nets or the kick nets that we use to collect these bugs, these are expensive, they're $100. Your chapter wants to give you money. If they don't want to give you money, stay counsel us. If you need some help, please don't hesitate to do it. I hope you guys are doing it now. And then I guess the only other thing is the idea of recreational fishing, especially fly fishing. I have a friend that is a urban planner, and I tell him that you can judge the health of the community by how many fly fishing there are. And at first they said, "You're nuts." I said, "No, think about it." I said, "First, fly fishing is not cheap. So we have to have a couple bucks in the pocket. It takes up time, which means you have to have some time available. And if your waters aren't in good shape, guess what? There aren't any fish to fish for. So if you've got a good fly fishing community, your community's in good shape. So that's why we're not a fishing club, but we are there any questions?
You want to call it a fishing pit. So if someone in the chapter were asked to come to the Salmon release, they would have a thing come to show kids how to cast.
What we really like to do, we've got a lot of other programs. We've had first guest programs with a school program, we've done that with and it's really nice to have like a 3 or 4 day or after school day. And what we try to do is a stream education. So we'll bring bugs in one day, we bring a stream table in the next day, and then probably do stream table. And then at the same time, we'll rotate the subject in here. We'll have some sort of a fishing element. So they'll either be casting or they'll be tying flies. These are what they do. So by the time you're ready to go.
Well, it'd probably be just the casting part.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would.
Absolutely.
It's kind of a one day, one afternoon.
Yeah, and to be fair though, what brings you to
The same as fifth grade. See, in sixth grade, they do all the water quality stuff.
Right.
And we make them sit and water testing and all that. So I try not to do that in fifth grade, because I want them to experience the first hand in fifth grade. So the fifth grade, they're just doing release, but I want to add the release thing.
Sure.
And you're talking about encouraging fishing and then growing up. I really feel it's a nice connection between release. I was wondering if you had kids, or we made kids that we brought and kids.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that works really well for that, you know what, if I know what a nut spinner is? Okay, we can make those things for you for about 50 cents. And the kids love them. They can, it takes maybe 15, 20 minutes. But that way, if you're going home with be a $5 deal, I don't probably dance, I love it. My poor daughter growing up, she's about 30. When she was 12 years old, she made thousands of those things. She was But, is there any other questions or ideas? I will take ideas too. Really good at stealing.
Thank you, Greg. Okay, so to tag on to Greg's piece, so I am on the national collective for Salmon in the Classroom and the Trout in the Classroom teachers. National Trout Unlimited's Headwaters Youth Program is offering 15 free memberships for teachers per state. So all you have to do is email me and say, please me, and I will sign you up for that. You'll get a free Trout Unlimited membership for a year as part of their teacher memberships. So definitely think about that. If it's something you think you would use and you want to be involved, just shoot me an email and I'll add you to the list, and you can be a part of that. Next up is Kevin.
Okay, so I am wearing a different hat for the next 72 minutes.
Yes. Yeah. 3 hours, please.
Just for a few minutes. Because I'm a quasi Mayo board member. So Michigan Alliance Environmental Outdoor Education, how many are members? How many have heard of Mayo? How many have heard of environmental education? All right, we're looking our way up. All right. So Mayo is, I'm a big believer in the network, right? So I always tell, especially when I work with young interns and college pubs, that in my great prestigious position right now, I would never have gotten where I have not got where I am without the network. So to me, it's all about network. You're only going to be successful in your profession as big as the network that you get. I really believe that. So this is the network for environmental ed. So if you're a teacher and you're purely, focused on a certain kind of science, and it's not necessarily environmental science, examiner class just happens to be there, whatever. But if you do have any leanings to environmental ed or outdoor ed, you really need to be part of this organization. This organization's been around 30 years. Mayo.com, pretty easy to find. There is a Maryland though. Maryland has the same exact acronym, so you got to be careful when you go to Maryland. Been around for 30 years. Its predecessor was a merger 30 years ago. There was a Michigan Outdoor Ed Association and a Michigan Environmental Ed Association merged, and they have been around much longer than that even. So it's got a very long history. A lot of school teachers, college professors, people that work at nature centers, zoos. It's a broad group of formal and non-formal educators that are interested in networking and spreading the gospel of environmental ed and basically learning more so that you can become better educators much like you are now. So give you an idea how that network works, besides just being a member, by going to the website, there's all kinds of things that go on in a year. So, for example, I think it's coming out very soon. If you love the Ram Center, you just can't wait to come back. 3 weeks from now, first weekend of February, we're offering a wildlife weekend. So you probably saw this brochure over there and picked one up. So this is a Mayo-sponsored event up here. Very similar format in that it's going to be Friday night, Saturday, Sunday till noon. Same number of meals, lodging, all that kind of stuff. Beer at night. That kind of stuff. And Bill Hodges and I are teaching classes. So, and the cool part about this is you don't have to be necessarily an educator to come. So if you have a significant other or a friend or whatever, and you're looking for a cool winter getaway up here, and you just like nature and you want to learn something, it'd be a really cool weekend to come up to. So keep that one in the back pocket and spread the word for that. Then just a few weeks after that, how many of you are familiar with MSTA, Michigan Science Teachers? Okay, so MSTA is the other really important network to know besides Mayo. And MSTA is going to be in Grand Rapids in about a month and a half. And Mayo and the DNR both have rooms side by side, and we get presentations all day long. There's a Mayo sponsored room, a DNR sponsored room, and it's another awesome opportunity to go to that conference. And you don't have to come to our sessions, of course, because there's 500 sessions probably at MSTA. But if you're interested in environmental ed, there's a really good opportunity. And again, it's part of that network. Just to show you an example about how important the network is, Brandon, past president of Mayo, Bill Hodges, current chair of membership. John, you're past president, right?
No.
But on the board. Yeah. You're on the Mayo board. Tracy, you're on the Mayo board, right? Mm-hmm. Who did I forget? Anybody else? But a lot of these people you've already met, most of them in good standing. Most of them all linked to this organization, so it's a really good group. So again, when you go to MSCA, you'd see all the Mayo stuff coming up. They have an annual conference, which is a huge deal. We just had a conference at Fort Huron, the largest conference we've had in the last, decade, in Fort Huron. And it's very similar that you have a lot of sessions to go to, but a lot of field trips. You're out a couple of days, you're out in the field all day. So that's a fun conference. And there's flyers again. So there's a Mayo table out in the hallway there. Got all this stuff on there. So the conference is last weekend in September. It's always in the fall, usually one of those couple weekends. And then one other thing is the environmental ed certifications. Anybody heard of that besides the obvious people? All right. So everybody knows about certifications, what you need for everything, right? You have teaching certification, plumbers have a certification. Certification basically says that you are an expert, as someone has said that you are an expert, right? So this is an environmental ed certification that Mayo sponsors, and it follows the coattails of the North American Association of Environmental Ed, which is the big grand umbrella poobah of professional environmental educators around the planet. And so we followed their guideline. Michigan's has only been around a few years. We have Tracy's our graduate. Anybody else here is a graduate? I don't think so. Tracy's a graduate. We only have like 12 graduates because the program just started. There's 100 in the pipeline though. But you can become a certified environmental educator. You have 5 years to do it. You sign up, you pick a project, you do the project, you do a capstone talk at a Mayo conference down the line. There's flyers about how that works also out of the table if you're interested in that thing. So again, if you really are leaning towards environmental ed, you need to be involved in Mayo.
What's up? Well, I'm Steve. This is Rick. Rick's one of the owners of Cruise Pets, which has been open for, is it 40 years now, almost? Yeah, 36. And I've worked for him as long as Bill's had salmon in the classroom tanks. So that dates it all. We've been involved in the salmon classroom. We were trying to figure that out for quite a while. Answering bajillions of emails about usually the same things each year, which thankfully eventually led to a pretty awesome manual, which we eventually got updated. So better and better every year. We do a lot of other stuff with teachers as well. And so some of those things are jellyfish in classrooms. Those are kind of cool. Very low cost, very not that hard, within reason, less than a salmon tank. The reef bowls is kind of a really exciting new thing we've been doing lately, which is like a 1 to 2 to 1 marine ecosystem with thriving corals that are grown from propagated cuts from other corals. So, corals that have been in captivity for, a long time, You know, those are pretty cool. Those are also a much lower cost than a salmon tank, as far as your budgetary concern.
Low maintenance.
Setup and low maintenance. I've got one on my kitchen counter. It's great. Rick got a grandma, a mom, and a granddaughter.
Yeah.
All three really super excited about those just recently. They just set theirs up a few days ago, so that's been kind of cool. They already sent me pictures of their, not even a week, 6-day-old tanks, and they sent pictures a few days ago. Corals are in the tanks, they're open, they're thriving, they're doing really, really good. They're really, really neat systems. I resisted Rick's suggestions for a year that we should entertain such a concept as a goldfish bowl with a bubbler in it with corals, because it's not right, it's not what's in the book. But then a customer of ours kept showing us these amazing pictures of her thriving ecosystems with all the most difficult to feed corals that were all growing, right? And that was really inspiring. We had her talk to us, and now we're doing it. So that's kind of a quick smattering of some of the things that we do. But whether it's a bunny in a classroom, a fish in a classroom, whether it's any of those creatures within the store, you know, our commitment's always been on education and helping people understand what they're getting into, helping them be successful with what they're getting into, helping make sure the environment cared for that animal is the best possible environment that can be provided. And I mean, those are the rules that we live by, you know, so to speak. So that's a quick bit of who we are.
I think the one thing I want to bring up and just emotionally connected to this program, it kind of gets back to the philosophy of our store and why we're in business. My mother, Leonard Jean Bruce, I must say that in order to even feel worthy of being here. She always had a real heart for people. More importantly, the accomplishment that they came into the store for. And when teachers came to me with salmon in the classroom, oftentimes it was with frustration. And when you understand your science, your profession that you do, you can immediately understand the obstacles in front. And the manuals have helped a lot. And the information like this helps a lot, and the sharing back and forth. But early on, as fish hobbyists, so if you have a tropical fish tank, bacteria perform well. When you have a tank that is much colder, bacteria don't perform nearly as well. When you have a tank when you have hundreds and hundreds of customers coming in with you every year, and they're trying to accomplish a tropical tank with all the science behind it and all the potential knowledge, and you have to help them. Now you have teachers coming to you wanting to put 150 fish in a 55-gallon tank, and the cards are stacked against them because we're going forward with a cold water environment, and maybe some understanding of this at a very rudimentary level because they've maybe never even had a fish tank before. Our natural instinct was to jump in. You know, let's do this. Let's help in any way we can. So wherever we can, and if you ask Kevin, that we've been there every step of the way that we can think of, because we know how important it is that whomever, whether it's myself in our store, we've got Ben from Watercolors, thank you. He's in Grand Rapids, and there's other individuals that will certainly be points of light in your neighborhood that really want to reach out and help you. And we do it because we are passionate about the hobby of fish keeping in a larger way, but even for us, a more universal way is we just really are excited about people and their ability to be successful in what we're doing here. And the frustration people feel, we feel that frustration. So we want to help in any way we can. So everything we do in our store evolves around trying to help that out. We have a veterinarian that's worked for us since 1980 or 98 that has been in helping us solve all kinds of problems. We look at two basic things. Can we actually get the information to the customer, and can we get healthy fish out the door? Those are two really basics, because really all we want when people walk out our door is what's the likelihood, irrespective of what they just went into, what's the likelihood, whether it's in a school or a home, that they're actually going to be successful. And if we can have successful people out there, then our business ends up stemming from that. So kind of like water the plants and the plants will grow, so. Oh,
And we've got a presentation tomorrow specifically on like how to make a salmon classroom tank better, more foolproof, more disaster proof. Just enhanced, more data, more, offshoots of the technology. And so, I mean, that, a lot of that kind of stuff we can cover tomorrow, if you have any questions related to that. Other than that, any questions immediately?
Can they come visit you?
Always. Between 10 to 9, Monday through Saturday.
Well, you can call me a special arrangement.
We do breed a lot of our own freshwater fish as well, which has been kind of a fun thing for people to come see. So if you do make a visit out, have us walk you through the back, and you can see a lot of baby fish and see a lot of really cool stuff. So, and then certainly the propagation of corals is another interesting thing that most, I would say most independent pet stores either are actively doing or are actively supporting organizations that do it. So there's a ton of great organizations out there that are producing some really, really cool corals, fish, all these things that haven't seen the ocean.
One other thing that we'll get to Tracy, and it will be in the whatever way you're communicating all that electronic stuff. I have a weekly talk show that I've been doing called Mid-Michigan Pet Talk Show, and on that, one of them you can get a podcast, and that's what we put on your what you send around. Is an interview with an hour-long interview with Howard Tanner. So I thought that was really, really cool. We'll have him on the show again because we invited him back once his book was out, and now his book is out, so we talked about it there. It's really cool. I mean, he talks about when he was in the military and how Howard Tanner was almost not going to be. He just happened to miss the one plane that he was supposed to be on, leaving the Philippines, and that plane ended up going down, and everybody died on it. So he was the next plane because he was, I think, loudly daggling out in nature as opposed to getting out on the plane. So it's a really fantastic interview. It was one of my most the highlights of the radio talk show. So I'd like to invite you guys to listen to that, and I'll get that.
I was just gonna put it on a inlet area. Trip they do every year.
She's got high schoolers, so we're not talking like third graders.
The way we did the store, the store is a product of years and years of being committed to what I just said, but something that we've always wanted is to be exciting. And so now we've created this store that's this destination location. We've got everything from a plane fuselage stuck in the rafters, a big bus in the middle, a river that goes through the store, kind of a Caribbean village. When people want to have their water tested, they come back to the testing hut because it has a hut type atmosphere, try to change the atmosphere of we want to examine everything you're doing to, hey, sit down at the bar and let's just chat. No alcohol served, but just let you know that. Maybe if you come after hours, we could have some. Any other questions?
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
And last but not least, Christine will sneak out the back here.
Yeah.
You go for Christine. You want me to hold it up front?
I was going to actually say back here.
Do you stand back here or hold something for you?
Oh,
What do you want me to do?
hold it. Okay. So Christine Steampunt is our interpreter at the Oat Safe Fish Hatchery, but she can talk about all the visitor centers.
I am Christina at the Oat Safe Fish Hatchery. We do have another hatchery, it's like the fish hatchery, open to, so that's what we want out and do. At the Oat Safe Fish Hatchery, we're specialized in labor trout. So that's what is going to be at our facility. But it's still okay to come and read and stay in the classroom during our egg laying time, which is going to be August, September, and October. So generally, if educators call and they want to try to hit that time, and they want to make it their way to kind of located between Petoskey and Manson, I can talk with the biologists and see what we do in the egg laying. So just for heads up, if you want to come visit, 11 o'clock, that's about the good time to be there. Some people want to come later, they do that, they can take it later. manage that process. So I do need to talk about other places, because I feel bad. Jonathan is actually here. So Jonathan is a good place area, and so he's definitely in a lot of different diversity. So every visitor center and every state park that has an interpreter has different features and different access. Like Clown Falls, I really wanted to go today because Teresa Neal is doing custom jewelry behind the dogs. So she's having, is that how you say it? Well, I need to learn a little bit more about that, but so she's having someone come in and they're doing a demo. You can bring the dog, you can have harnesses, and you can actually practice and have a game. So you can just see when you click on different sites, you know what they're doing and what they're not. So Jonathan, do you have anything that you want to mention in some of your areas? If I were to come to your site, what am I going to see, or what is going to be something?
Yeah, we do have both Salmon takes a better station. We also have the lamprey, so those of you who will be in the flying program, we do offer in our area the basic species program, which does have the lamprey as part of it. So part of that. We do a lot of the biomedication program in our students in our areas. We've got a few representatives in the area that we've been working with quite a bit on that program. But so we're open to anybody who wants to come out to our site for that. And we are also looking to match up with Sergeant Tracy about doing a egg pickup day out at our site as well. So we're starting to get such a big increase in teachers in our area. We're very interested in the program.
Yeah, and every interpreter we have is just like that. Please come and do, we have all these things, we will help you, we will do it. So, no matter where you are in the state, there's somebody who can match you.
Just before that, I came up today, I think Brandon showed mentioned that there's funding to get, that would be on the eastern side, kind of tip area, there's funding if you would need funding for your classrooms, most trips you can find. So all of our programs are free. If you come to our site, we have 130 acres. So, yeah, talk about that. Visitor center was the old hatchery. We have a rail car. That's how we used to transport the fish. So I would like take kids into the rail car. I'll talk about a little bit how we transported the fish, why we have hatcheries. We walk away off the trail. We go to the stream room chamber. Have you ever seen that? So it's glass where you can see what's happening in the stream here. Sometimes we have suckers that are out flying from the lake. It might just be rainbow trout, brown trout, hidden out. If the otters have been through, there will be nothing. Because I'm head for a while. And then we have ponds where you can feed the fish with the kids, and then I'll take you up to the hatchery. I'll probably take you into the main buildings like our root stock building and parent fish. So you're gonna get to see that. Maybe hopefully we can come to that. We're going to incubation nursery, outdoor raceway. We have eagle, osprey, herons. You never really know what you're gonna see. Proud of them. I was extremely. We did a program with actually probably age of 8 and up to adults. They like to keep the program small. And so I think they have about 20 people that they allow them to fly a fishing program all day. So they do go to our ponds and our streams, and they'll just fly fishing programs there. But what I also have, you may want to pick up a little bit, and I think someone's going to talk about this a little bit more.
They all got one in the bag.
They
But
did.
they can steal a second one
You
from
can steal a
Christine.
second one. So there's an Arctic Grilling Initiative, and so that's a partnership between many people, so whether it's state, the tribe, so we're trying to bring back the fish that are extricated. So grayling are generally found in the lower peninsula, and brook trout actually kind of dominate in the upper peninsula. And so because of logging practices, over harvesting, introduction of invasive, I should say, introduction of reduced species, that would be non-native fish that might compete with that, have a lot of change. So what's nice about this partnership is it's all through partnership donations. So when you have hunting and fishing license that pay for things, people donated their own money. So we're at $1.2 million just to get this started up. And what's actually going to happen is the broodstock are going to be actually starting with state fish hatchery. So in our isolation building, but there's a lot of opportunities there. And if you want to check out Rewild Michigan, that will help you out. And there's also some places to look at on the sticker if you want to grab that. I don't know if you have any other questions. We would love to come to your hatchery, but we're too far away. So do you have to take a video tour or virtual classroom opportunities where the kids can more and see what's happening. I
It's in the works.
do not, so it's something I could look into. I do post videos a lot on the site, of the intake process or some things that are happening during that time. But that might be something. You do have Wolf Lake State Fish Hatchery, which is located in Avalon. That's just as far, where are you located?
Kept it the exact farthest away spot.
So that you.
So this is where those videos are talking about. So the Wolf Lake hatchery video that's on the table at EE, and then we're also producing one. That's where some of those types of videos might help provide the experience that you can't go to.
Well, if it were up to me, I would say, put them in a bus,
Get on a bus and
visit hours, they can go, but not up to me.
Cadillac, I would say, well.
So you're located.
Cadillac, I could make it back and forth and have hours there, but there's no hatchery there, is there?
Well, actually, there's actually also there's actual 6 state hatcheries, so you have 2 have them in state. So your closest one I thought would be Flat.
Or Harrietta.
Okay, Harrietta, that's possible.
So the Harrietta hatchery is tiny.
So these are
but it's not
actually,
that far. from
these are
that.
actually kind of like the visitor centers, not really
Where's
the hatcheries.
20 minutes, yeah. So in that case, you would, yep, but if you got a hold of Ed Shaw at the Carl T and Cadillac, Ed is very familiar with Harrietta and he can do kind of a combo field trip for you. And he's done that in the past, so.
You know, there's Marquette, there's Thompson, there's Wood State Fish Hatchery, Elm Lake, Flat River, and then I'm missing Harrietta, which is those are the areas that you can. And may not have a visitor center, but if you contact like the hatchery manager, they may be able to find out like what's happening on activity wise, or the reason why it's not something about. I haven't seen the list of officially related. Now, there's some key times, you know, fall or spring, so you might have to wait for those.
And Christine's here all weekend, so if you want to pick her brain a little bit more, catch her at the meals. We are like almost on time-ish for the. Okay, so I have the announcement list written on the back of our scanners. So on the sketch signage out there, it looks like no one has written down an email for the most part. So make sure you do that before the end of the weekend. I have to have it in at least one place, so just make sure you do that. And sign in and out, all those other things. At 5 o'clock, so we're gonna do one more little thing, and then we're done at 5. But at 5, if anybody has tall winter boots and a sense of adventure, I'm gonna go tromping through the snowbank and the woods down to a little stream back here to get some macros for my session tomorrow. I bought 1 pair of waders, but they're size 12, so they'll fit anybody for the most part. And if you wanna go tromp with me, we can go down there and you can collect macros. I have a couple nets and I have to get them either way, so even if it's just me by myself, I'm okay with that. But if anybody wants to tromp with me, but I heard the snow is like cooking, so heads up on that. But we'll meet right out here. There you go. So they're in. There you go. So we've got lots of it. So that's at 5. Dinner is at 5:30 today over in the dining hall. So keep that in mind. And then tonight we're back here for those that are willing and able. We are doing dissection demos. So in each room we are doing a different dissection. We have 3 options. One is trout with Christine and Jonathan, to do a fish dissection. One is sea lamprey with Andrea, and then the third is squid with me. At the end of that, we will cut up the squid, and then during our social this evening back over in the lounge where we were last night, we're gonna fry that calamari and eat it. But the dissections are kind of aimed at you sticking to one the whole time, but if you don't want to be as hands-on with anything, you are welcome to pop in and out of those rooms. So just keep that in mind. That's between 7 and 8. And then after that, we're over in the lounge for the social tonight. The Mayo starter pack in the cooler is running low, so keep that in mind. That party store is 1 mile that way.
I have lots of
Oh, Bill makes beer.
Yes. How important is a little carrot?
No, I don't. And there's a whole stack of them on the table out there. Okay, so that gets us to the morning. Breakfast is at 7:30. We start a little bit earlier tomorrow at 8:15 back in here with our guys from Bruce again. And then we roll through the day. So tomorrow we have a speaker about radio telemetry. We have another one about the art of grilling. So some cool kind of looking towards the future. What's happening in fisheries and research towards the future? What do we have? What's kind of on the plate for Michigan for the future? And that'll get us through Sunday. So, any questions on any of the logistical stuff?
Yeah, as far as the checkout of the rooms, would it be out of there by 9?
9 a.m. Yep. Oh, thank you for remembering that, Bill. 9 a.m. is checkout for the rooms. So just most people will take their bags with them to their car on their way to breakfast. You don't have to do anything else. Just take your belongings out of the room and you're good.
Has the afternoon optional workshop been canceled?
So the only one running in the afternoon is Aquatic Wild.
Okay.
And anyone is welcome to hop in on that.
Awesome.
It's a free workshop. She's bringing materials for 20 people, so we can accommodate anybody that decides to join in at the last second.
Cool.
Any other questions? Okay, so we're gonna round out the afternoon with some chatting time. So this is a nice feature of this shutdown gap. So what we're gonna do is high school teachers stay in this room, middle school teachers go to the next room, elementary go around the corner, and it gives you guys time to like bounce some ideas off each other and at least put names to faces and maybe get some emails to chat. And then after that, you guys are free until dinner.